Recording in
All right, I'd like to call our meeting to order. And all members of council are present and accounted for. And we'll start off with our land acknowledgement, and we acknowledge that we are in the land surrounded by water, originally inhabited by indigenous peoples who have traveled this area since time immemorial. This territory is within the lands honored by the wampum treaties, agreements between the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenni, Lenape, allied nations, and peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Specifically, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Three Fires Confederacy, the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and the Potawatomi and Huron-Wendat peoples, and the Caldwell First Nation. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture while remaining committed to moving forward respectfully with all our First Nations, Inuit and Métis. To the members, any disclosure of pecuniary interest on the agenda is presented to you today. Hearing none. I'll have that duly noted. So the introduction of our meeting today is to hear from the public comment, any affected landowners on the proposed drainage work set out by the drainage report that was filed by Mark Hernandez of Dillon Consulting, dated April 14th, 2023, for the East Townline drain and the lower portion improvements. So I'll turn it over to Lisa, our drainage superintendent, and to bring any other items that you want to bring forward in introduction.
Thank you, Your Worship. Today we're here to consider the drainage report submitted by Dillon on April 14th of 2023. The report incorporates the changes to the drain under the Drainage Act, which includes the relocation of the lower portion of the drain to the east side of Manning Road and the enclosure of the drain upstream. These works were part of the Manning Road Improvements Phase 2 project, which was completed in 2021 and 2022. The report also includes cost estimates for the works and a schedule of assessment. We are recommending that the report and specifications for the East Townline drain, the lower portion of the St. Clair outlet, as prepared by Mark Hernandez of Dillon Consulting, dated April 14th, 2023, be received, and that consideration be given to the first and second readings of a provisional bylaw to adopt the drainage report in accordance with Section 42 of the Drainage Act. And further, that the enclosed section of the existing East Townline drain along the west side of Manning Road from St. Thomas Street North to the inlet structure at municipal number 157 be abandoned under Section 19 of the Act. And furthermore, that notice be given to all affected landowners that the Court of Revision to be held on June 27, 2023, in accordance with Section 46(1) of the Act, subject to the adoption of the provisional bylaw. There's one resident, Ms. Eugenie, who has registered as a delegate for this meeting, and Mr. Mark Hernandez from Dillon Consulting is also joining us to help answer questions that the delegate or council may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for Ms. or Alicia. And I'll call upon Mark Hernandez. Is there anything at the moment you want to add at this time, or we'll just wait for the delegations?
Thank you and good afternoon. I just did want to mention that I did have an opportunity just this afternoon to speak with Miss Eugenie. We had a conversation. I think there is more discussion to be had. It is specifically related to, like, while we're here for the meeting to consider, I think there's more discussion to be had related to assessment for quarter revision items for the next meeting. So I do intend to correspond further with Ms. Eugenie. She did note a few properties on the upstream end of the Antea where we've got them in the watershed map and listed, but they're not currently in the schedule. So we did identify that as something that would need to be rectified prior to the quarter revision. I'm not sure that it would necessitate referring it back at this point unless there was other reasons to do so. That's something we could do as part of the process going to the quarter revision. Other than that, I've had no contact with any other landowners. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hernandez. So with that, I'll call upon Ms. Eugenie to please come forward.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Most of my questions, as Mark has identified, are assessment based. So as long as the opportunity to speak and potentially have edits made to that assessment schedule, I think everything is fine as is. We can continue to discuss and answer questions.
Well, that's what
forward.
we're here today, and this is an opportunity. And prior to the next meeting would be the quarter revision, as it was stated by Mr. Hernandez. So this is the opportunity to say your piece.
Okay, well, I think that most of the questions are a bit more technical in nature in how the costs are being assessed. There's a variety of I guess, ways to approach it. And some of the dialogue that we've had, it's not, there's factors that are assigned to properties that aren't publicly shared, which make it a little bit less easy for the residents to evaluate themselves. So we will just continue to dialogue, and if edits need to be made, that comes in the next version of the report. Is that correct?
Go ahead, Mr. Hernandez.
What I've asked of Ms. Eugenie is if she could, because she's right, it's a very detailed technical nature of the questions. And what I've asked is if she could send me an email following this meeting summarizing her questions, and I would be able to get back to her more thoroughly. And then if there was any edits to the assessment schedule, that we would do so in advance of the court. And just to clarify, it is related to the future maintenance schedule. So in terms of like the current cost for the capital works, that's not in play here because that assessment is completely to the town. So this is really just related to the prorate for future maintenance works only.
I said the quarter revision, it's got to be recorded. I'm sure you heard my voice, but an opportunity for you to obviously have that conversation as ongoing prior to obviously the quarter revision. And so it's an opportunity for both parties to get together and certainly bring your concerns and to Mr. Hernandez, and then you can iron that out hopefully between now and the quarter revision.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So we don't have any further. Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Houston.
Thank you, Your Worship. Maybe to Mr. Hernandez, just regarding, you had mentioned drains which are in the Antea but not listed here. Is that also, those properties which aren't listed, is that also future maintenance, or would those properties, would they be on the assessment schedule for the works as we see in the report here?
Thank you very much for the question. So to clarify, the properties are shown in the watershed map. They're identified with the owners and the roll numbers. It's in the schedule of future maintenance where there's just not all of them, just a handful of them are omitted. So we just simply need to add those to the future maintenance schedule. But again, it doesn't affect any current costs.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. I don't know if there's anything else that you can add at this stage here. I think it's a matter of continuing that dialogue. And so with that, if there's no further questions or comments, go ahead.
Through you, your worship, just a question. I see we've got some other residents in the audience. I don't know if they have anything specific.
They want to add, I know they haven't registered as delegates
Okay,
in that, but maybe if an indulgence, obviously for procedure, if somebody wants to come forward, and then I'll ask council if they want to allow them. Anybody want to address council? Okay, going once. Okay. You still have that opportunity come the quarter revision at a future date, which you'll be notified with that. So no further questions or comments from both ends. Then if I could have a motion to receive both pieces of communications, Councillor Jobin and Councillor Houston. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. And a motion to receive the report to consider the engineer's report, East Townline Drain lower portion of Lake St. Clair outlet. Moved by Deputy Mayor Buchetti and supported by Councillor Toniel. All in favor? Opposed, that's carried. No further business, then adjournment's in order. Councillor Higginson moved, Councillor Toniel support. All in favor? Opposed, if any? This meeting is now adjourned.